To the nation's capital, where two men are accused of duping members of the Secret Service, the same agency, by the way, in charge of course, protecting the president and the president's family. Federal prosecutors say the two men behind it all gave agents tens of thousands of dollars in gifts, which included rent-free apartments. Correspondent Everett Lambert is here live for us tonight to explain what happened. Evan.
Marnie, and federal investigators say when they went inside the suspects' apartments, they found a cache of weapons, gas masks, zip ties, and sniper scopes. A bombshell in federal court Thursday. Prosecutors say one of the men accused of posing as a federal agent and offering lavish gifts to Secret Service members told people he has ties to Pakistani intelligence. The court proceedings also revealing that Haider Ali, 35, has visas from Pakistan and Iran. Ali, along with 40-year-old Aryan Taherzadeh, are accused of running the scheme for years, according to the FBI, to, quote, ingratiate themselves with members of federal law enforcement and the defense community.
The worst case scenario is you're going to end up being an asset for a foreign government. The best case scenario is that you're extortable. So either way, it wasn't going to end well. Now, what their actual goal was, whether it was to get an invitation to a White House event or whether it was to get close access to someone the Secret Service protects to commit an assassination, either one is unacceptable.
Among the allegations from court documents that both Taherzadeh and Ali have been working their scam since 2020, had equipment and weapons with federal law enforcement insignias, and even tried recruiting someone to join their fake task force, forcing the recruit to be shot with an airsoft gun to demonstrate their pain tolerance. The FBI says the duo gave valuable gifts to at least 4 agents and officers: cell phones, drones, surveillance equipment, and get this, even offered to pay the yearly rent for penthouse apartments totaling more than $40,000 each.
That is something so far beyond the pale that it's actually something that outside of a spy novel, I've never even heard of a federal agent being offered something like that before.
Taherzadeh and Ali arrested Wednesday night at their luxury apartment in Washington, the same building some of the Secret Service personnel they're accused of befriending lived in. It all unraveled when a postal inspector came to the building on an unrelated investigation, spoke to the fake agents, and reported their strange behavior to DHS and then the FBI. The FBI easily able to point out the holes in the fake agents' stories, including in one text message to a witness in which Taherzadeh claims to be in a training class. The FBI saying it's a stock photo he found on the internet. And the Secret Service says those 4 agents, those employees of the Secret Service that are accused of taking gifts, are on administrative leaves. The suspects, Marnie, they're back in court again tomorrow.
All right, we'll be following it. Evan, thank you. So how does this happen? Danny Emmett is a retired Secret Service agent and former CIA officer joining us live tonight. Not much surprises me anymore, but how is this possible?
Hi, Marnie. Thanks for having me back. How is this possible? That's a really good question. There are a lot more questions in this case than there are answers, but there are some things that have come to light that trouble me a great deal. The CIA side of me says that this is an ongoing intelligence operation, one that is not just beginning, but one that has been in progress for quite some time. The other part that really bothers me is that the Secret Service is involved in this. So it looks to me, as a former agency counter-intel type, that what you have is a couple of people who are masquerading as federal agents who have befriended 4 people at the Secret Service who have access to the White House and protectees, to include Jill Biden and the entire family probably, and that they are giving them gifts, they are being friends with them, and in return for what? And so my big question is, what has the Secret Service done in return for these gifts, if anything? Nothing at this point, I hope. But that would have been coming down the road at some point. You don't get something for nothing.
Right.
There's no reason that
let me jump in here,
offered.
Danny, because I want to, 2 things you mentioned that stood out, and I don't want to get too far beyond them before I bring them back up.
Okay.
The bigger picture, what do we know about these 2 guys? Who do they work for? Who's funding them? What are your sources telling you? What
Correct.
are some of the possibilities?
Yeah, well, those are things that the FBI is going to have to discover, because these people were spending enormous amounts of money on apartments, on gizmos and gadgets they were giving to the Secret Service. that money was coming from somewhere. And so there's an old saying, follow the money. And if you do that, I think what's probably going to be revealed, you're going to find that the money is going to a foreign intel service who is employing these two individuals. And that unfortunately looks like to me what's going on.
The other point you made was about the Secret Service and sort of to the degree, how could this happen? A postal worker is the one who spotted the red flags, reported it, not the Secret Service. So what does that tell you about what they knew or what they missed?
Well, it tells me that the Secret Service people involved in this, quite frankly, are not paying attention. They're asleep at the switch. Any rookie agent right out of the academy should know that there's no such thing as a special police officer from the Department of Homeland Security. Now, why a postal inspector knows that and Secret Service agents don't know that is a mystery to me.
Does it concern you that there is the possibility that they knew about it and were going along with it?
That the Secret Service knew about it and were going along with it?
Potentially. I mean, how do
No,
they
I don't
miss?
think
How do they miss something so obvious that a postal worker could catch?
Yeah, I don't think that's the case, because you're dealing with potentially the lives and the safety and the welfare of the President of the United States. And what really bothers me, you've got these guys with guns, ammunition, tactical gear, all the things in place that look to me to be preparing for an assassination attempt or an abduction. Now, imagine what would happen if the First Lady were abducted. That would put the President in a very difficult position.
Heaven forbid. So tell me what you think is happening behind closed doors right now, the conversations. Do you anticipate any disciplinary action?
Well, right now what's happening, what's probably been happening all day, and maybe even right now as you and I are speaking, is that the FBI, they are wringing out these 4 Secret Service types, trying to find out what, if anything, they gave to these 2 individuals and what the story was behind the entire thing. So there's going to be a lot of interviewing going on, a lot of questioning going on, and it's not going to be a comfortable time for these 4 Secret Service types.
Well, it is a very concerning scenario, and let's hope that this was one instance and not reflective of potentially more inside jobs just like this one. Danny, Emmett, appreciate your insight. Good to talk to you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.